Hey Zingers, it's Jonathan Mallard and Ryan Faluna from the Benzinga Pro team, and we just wanted to give you an exciting update about our unusual options activity calendar. You know, it was a powerful tool before, but there were a few things that could have been improved. And man, Ryan, with these improvements, I was just absolutely floored. I just want to give our development team a huge hug. How about you?
Yeah, me too. I mean, this makes it so much easier. I remember when this came out, I think the term that I used was crying tears of joy because it literally took some of the work out of my hands and just does it for me. And like you had mentioned, I used to combine this tool with the signals tool to really get a good idea of option flow. And now I almost don't even need it. I'm still going to use it out of habit, but we've added so much information to this that you can actually just use this tool on its own now. It's great.
Absolutely. So a few of the things that we had before, which are still useful, you'll see over there on the left-hand side, you've got put and call orders. So you could always filter it by those. You also had the strike price, which is important, the expiration date, which is also important on the right-hand side, and then volume over open interest to see, how many people are trading these contracts. But, I would get questions all the time. People would ask me, Jonathan, how do I tell if this is a bullish or a bearish option? And before I used to have to point people over to a help site. The cheat sheet is still a great tool, but now you have the sentiment right here inside of the table, along with a bunch of the other variables here. So why don't you tell them more about that, Ryan?
Absolutely. And Jonathan, I, for one, still use the cheat sheet. As you mentioned, all you have to do to access it is click on the question mark in the upper right corner. And then you can actually just type in option in the search here, and you can do the how do I understand option alerts article. And the cheat sheet that we're referring to is this chart right here that tells you with calls at the ask is bullish, calls at the bid is bearish, etc. Well, so that entire chart is being programmed now into a column here. So you can see on any one of these new transactions that pops up, we're figuring that out for you and then telling you. Now, what's important to realize here is that this sentiment has to do with the underlying asset. So this top one here that says this is a bearish sentiment, it doesn't necessarily mean that the call purchase is bearish. It means that this particular transaction has a bearish sentiment on the underlying stock. So keep that in mind. But the thing is that it's all about speed. It's just done for you now. So, Jonathan, as you mentioned earlier, you do have the put call here, and you can filter the calendar by any of these columns, which is one of the reasons why the calendar is so cool and so important, because if you only want to see puts or calls or transactions that have a high volume to open interest ratio, like you just mentioned, you can do that in the calendar, whereas you couldn't do that in the signals tool. So in addition to the sentiment, we also added the option price. Before, we just had information on the bid, ask, and midpoint. Now we still have those, but now we also have the price at which that transaction took place at. So you can know if you got a good price, if you're going to go ahead and follow that trade. We also have this DTE, which stands for days till expiration. So very quickly at a glance, you can determine if the contract was a near dated contract or a far dated contract or even a leap transaction. Obviously, the strike price. Now, Jonathan, you had mentioned that we had the volume here previously, and what that volume was the total volume over the course of the day. We've gone ahead and added in another column called size, and we wanted to distinguish it from volume, so we called it size. What size is the size of the individual transaction. So you can see here on this top one, this QQQ trade was 1,000 contracts versus a total day volume of 7,137. The other thing that we've done, we've added in a trade count. And what this refers to is the number next to the sweep. So the number in the parentheses. We have always told people that the higher that number is, the more either bullish or bearish the sentiment is. And now we actually give you that column right here in the table. And then as far as doing more work for you, we also added the total trade price. And this is important because I don't know about you, Jonathan, but I would get questions all of the time for customers that said, I just want to see unusual options that are over 250 grand.
Right.
And there was no way to filter that before, and now there is. You can actually use this field in the filters menu and type in a minimum value of $250,000, and the result will be only option trades that were higher than that. So you can actually just look at this at a glance here too. And then, as you mentioned, I still have the volume over open interest, volume and open interest on here. Now, what's important here is you can actually click on columns and you can actually see all of the columns that we offer now. There are some more here, like for example, the option symbol. So the actual name of the particular contract that ties in the strike price and the expiration date as well. I don't use that because I don't really need that. I refer to contracts as SPY calls or Uber puts or whatever it is. I actually don't memorize that huge long chain. But if you want that for whatever reason, you can put that in here. So you can actually fill out your calendar to have any of the columns that you want. And then if you click on the filters menu, you can then filter by any of those columns to help reduce the noise and focus on whatever it is that you're looking for. So, Jonathan, this is a great tool. I'm really excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to offering this to the Zinger community.
Absolutely. So if you guys have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us at VIP accounts at benzinga.com or through that little chat bubble in the bottom right corner of the platform. We'd love to talk with you more, continue developing these great tools. And until next time, happy trading.